Back in 2017, our family took a family vacation trip sort of out west to look for the solar eclipse, totality. And we got partway out there that day. We got out of school, we got out of work, took vacation days. We got partway out there and a cloud bank started coming to meet us. So we turned and we started driving away from the clouds. We took the radar off the radio and off our GPS and all of that, tried to stay ahead of it, tried to take every road possible to get away from it. But a lot of the roads were blocked and there were people every place. And finally, we thought we got ahead of it, pulled off to the side of the highway on a clover leaf and just kind of set up, and the clouds caught us. And ever since that day, we've been waiting for this April the 8th, 2024, and a second chance for the totality. It was worth every minute of it. I just got to show you a little bit of the pictures, not much, and then get into our subject of the day. And our subject of the day is going to be, why don't more young Christians attend church? My son, he and I had this really long conversation that was very forceful. He's a good arguer, I'm a good arguer. It was fun. It wasn't an angry type of thing. And he just filled me with a whole bunch of new ideas to wrestle with. So what I'm going to do is, I think today I'm just going to bring up a few of the points and then scatter it over future weeks. Now, when my son and I were having this discussion, a very educational discussion, he comes from a younger generation than me. He's not, one of the youngest generations. He's in his early 40s, but this still covers what we're talking about, 20s, 30s, 40s. And he talks to a lot of people, and there's a number of Christians he knows that are not too keen on church, and so he gives me a perspective of what's going on in their minds. And so here are some of the things we're going to talk about. Now, we're not going to deal with them today. We're just going to bring them up. But in the weeks ahead, we're just going to sprinkle some of these into our conversations, so we're going to be talking about them. Here's one. There's never been an open door to leadership in our churches for the next generation. What the person was saying is that we want younger people into our churches. We want them to take part, but we still have the controlling power, and they are relegated to labor-type jobs or jobs to help us out, or even if they do stretch their wings and have a little bit of authority, we're usually looking over the shoulder to see how they're doing. And so without the ability to go into leadership and to have big dreams and to work on it, they tend to have less interest in just helping out with somebody else's big dreams. Now, is that true? Is it not true? Is it a cop-out? I don't know. We won't talk about that today, but we will be getting into it someday, and possibly someday soon. Here's the next one. Not in any particular order, just the order I remembered. That they think churches are mean, not hospitable, not real friendly and have so many rules that it's easy to step over a rule. And the people in the church, they have unspoken rules they know, but outsiders don't know those rules, and they're going to cross over them, or they may not buy into the faith, but they're attending church, and it becomes obvious that they're the outsiders. Now, is that true? Again, I don't know. I will say, though, that I just tackled a question kind of like that a few weeks ago. If you remember, if you watch these devotions, I had one that said, are churches abusive? Now, that one seemed to strike a nerve because I had a whole lot of calls on that one. I had extra comments on it. I had a lot of likes clicked on it. And over the next few weeks, several people talked to me about that particular one and gave their opinions of whether churches are abusive or not abusive. Whether there's a real problem there or not doesn't matter. What matters is there a perceived problem, and is that a handicap to people? And if it is, what can be done about it? Here's the next one. The way we do church isn't the way that they worship. Now, I don't know exactly how they worship, but evidently it's not the way that many of us do. Perhaps. We'll have to talk about that one sometime, huh? They like Christ, just not the institution of church. And it may be that we're in a generation that worships a different way, thinks a different way, they have a different view of institutions. We'll have to decide about that. Is the way we have done church the way to do it? Or is there a better way to do it? Or maybe just a different way? Maybe what we think is a traditional way of worshiping, or the proper way of worshiping, is a way of worshiping that came about when we were their age. The church is backward, at least anti-science. Now, if someone believed the stories about Hercules, a lot of times we would kind of scoff about that. But we don't have problems with the virgin birth, the six-day creation. We don't have problems with other kinds of miracles and raising people from the dead. But in the world we live in, people apply the same yardstick to the Christians' stories as they do to the Hindu stories, the Buddhist stories, the ancient Greek stories, the Islamic stories. And a lot of them don't fit with science. There seems to be kind of a disconnect between religion and science today. Too much politics. We have blue churches, we have red churches. We have churches that align with one political party, churches that align with the other political party, and those churches are just as much in war today as the political parties are in war today, and as everything else in our country seems to be at war today. So why should someone enter into another expression of right versus left? Christianity has become countercultural, anti what our culture's in. If we were to be honest, one of the reasons why we think Hercules is kind of mythology and some of the stories in the Bible are factual and that they can't be compared together, or why we think some of the stories from Hinduism or Confucianism or Buddhism or Islam are fanciful, but we don't think ours are at all, and we don't ask critical questions about it. Part of that reason is because we were grown up like that. Ever since we were little kids, we were raised like that. We were raised to think there is a whole lot of difference between Hercules and Jesus. I mean, it sounds blasphemous even to say that question. But the people that have been raised today, they have not been raised with that type of background. And when they ask what's the difference, they're being serious. But here's the last one. Don't tell me what to do. Convince me of what's right. Show me. Don't just tell me and expect me to take your word for it when I'm not sure if you know what you're talking about. Convince me that this is the right way. You know what's coming. May God bless you until we get to worship together again this weekend.